What's going on back, boys? What's going on, boys and girls? Sorry, I already started on the wrong foot here, but welcome back once again back to the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast. It's Tuesday morning. Hope you everybody had a great weekend. Lots of exciting things going on in the kayak fishing world. The classic just took not the classic, but the Bass Master Kayak Series Championship took place a couple of weekends ago. And again, big shout out to Eric Sadiki who won that tournament. Hobie BOS just released their new or published their new tournament, so you can not the new tournament, their neutral. I think it's Chickamauga, and it got sold out in 9 minutes. That is crazy. I'm sure if we keep records on this is probably the fastest or quickest a kayak fishing tournament has sold out. I mean, sold out in 9 minutes, from what I understand. So one of the posts that I saw, I think it was on the KBN, but definitely got sold out the first day because it's Friday, and I saw it this morning and already got sold out. So when they say it got sold out in 9 minutes, I'm gonna trust in on them. It definitely got sold out within the first hour. That's very exciting just to see the growth of the Hobie BOS Bassmasters KBF. That is awesome. Shout out to AJ McWhorter and everybody that's involved in growing the kayak fishing community. Let's keep this going and hope for the best for the tournaments. I was kind of worried with the gasoline prices going up, how the national tournaments were gonna be affected by it. But at the moment, Hobie BOS again is going in strong, and that's great for everyone involved, not just Hobie BOS, but Bassmaster Kayak Series and KBF and the All American Bass Kayak Series. So great stuff coming up. Anyways, this episode we got Kalon Johnson. For those of you who don't know Kalon Johnson, great angler. Got a chance to meet him at the Hobie BOS in Toledo Bend. He was fishing that tournament in conjunction with the Bass Nation Kayak Series for Louisiana. Great angler for Louisiana. Great guy to talk to. I've only had a chance to talk to him for about a couple of hours. We kind of kept in touch with social media and finally got a chance with his busy schedule to come up to the show. So I'm really excited to have Kalon Johnson on the episode. You're going to enjoy this episode a lot, like always. Hopefully you will. So we're going to call a quick commercial. Before we do that, we want to thank our sponsor, Douglas Rock. Go to douglasoutdoors.com. Check out their full lineup of LRS, X Matrix, and award-winning fly fishing rods, douglasoutdoors.com. Quick commercial for waypoints, and then we'll bring Kalon Johnson right in. Mr. Kalon Johnson, how you doing, my man?
Oh, I'm doing good, brother. Doing good. How about yourself?
Pretty good, man. Thank you so much. I know you've had a busy schedule this week, especially today. So I just really want to thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to come up to the podcast and kind of introduce my listeners to Kalon Johnson and KDJ Fishing. So before we start, Kalon, what is it that you do for a living? Now, you work at a hospital? Is that correct?
Yes. I work at a hospital, director of environmental services. So I'm dealing with chemical spills, infectious waste, hazard waste, all that good stuff throughout the hospital.
That's interesting. I worked at the airport, so I had to take that. I think it was, I had to take two trainings a year, mandatory, the OSHA and the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and the OSHA. I can't remember what it stands for. But man, they were like tough trainings for like at the beginning. They kind of like loosened it up a little bit. But I remember when I started working, I used to work in the cargo hangar, and that was like a 200 question training, and I needed to pass with I think 90 score, or I didn't have a job. So
Yeah,
I know the importance of chemical waste and all that is not lost on me. Trust me. So very important job that you do.
definitely.
So, Kaylin, let's talk a little bit about you and how you got into kayak fishing. Now, you know what you do for a living. What got you into fishing, kayak fishing, and then kind of like building a brand name out of it?
Well, honestly, what got me into kayak fishing was being a broke college student. So, as a college student, you don't have the funds to go out and buy a brand new boat or whatever the case may be. So knowing the passion that I always had for fishing, I just had the bright idea to go ahead and try to find a way to get a kayak while I was in college, which would allow me to go out and fish the way I want. Now, I've never, prior to getting a kayak, I had never kayak fished a day in my life, so I didn't know what it entitled. I didn't know what I needed or anything like that. I just went ahead and took a took a jump in the water and tried kayak fishing, and I fell in love with it ever since.
How was that first hook set on a kayak? What was that
It
experience like?
it was amazing. My first trip was in Pointe-Charlotte, Louisiana. I went, do some sight fishing because prior to getting into bass fishing in the kayak, I was all about redfish, and I still
Nice.
love it. But my first trip was in Pointe-Charlotte, Louisiana, and that's down there in Homer, Louisiana. Which you should come down and we should go fishing because I guarantee you will be hooked on it. Um,
You had me at fishing. You had me at redfish.
well, yeah, definitely come on down with Brandon and we'll have a good time. But yeah, that was my first trip and I'll never forget that trip. I videoed it and everything, so I had a great time.
That's awesome, man. I went red fishing, not out of a kayak, out of a tour fishing boat last year in South Padre Island, and I loved it.
Hmm.
I actually caught my first redfish. Wasn't a keeper, but I did catch a bunch of trout fish, and it was awesome. And I don't know if you eat your catch, or I don't know how, for you, is it like, I know for bass it's catch and release. I don't know if for you redfish is catch and release, or any other fish that you catch is catch and release. But man, oh man, that trout and that redfish meat is delicious. That
Oh,
is
it's
great.
good. It's really good. And I mean, I love practicing catch and release with redfish, bass, whatever I fish for. I like to practice catch and release. But fish, like you said, trout, even it's very good table food as well. But I encourage catch and release, and I definitely promote it.
No problem, man. That's awesome. So how do you got into now? Let me ask you this. When you were in college, were you like, did you have like a scholarship for fishing?
No, when I got in college, they didn't have college fishing at that time. Now later on, like before I graduated, my senior year, that Nicholls State University, which is the school I graduated from, they got their college fishing team the year I was graduating. So I participated, in meetings and stuff like that, but I never participated in tournaments and whatnot. So I kind of missed that way. Disappointed.
Yeah, kind of wish you were 5 years, 4 years
Yeah,
younger, right?
yeah. I wish it would have caught me a
But
little bit later. I could have fished in high school, got a scholarship in college, and went the whole waters. But hey, it happens like that sometimes.
yeah, it is. But hey, you can proudly say you were part of that movement that has opened the doors for
Yeah,
other people
definitely.
now. Even if we're like, a small little grain of salt in it, just everything that we do. I don't think of myself too highly with this, but I also think that doing a podcast kind of helps out grow that. And now you see with the Hobie BOS doing a college series. I mean, that's great for college. And if there's something to be proud of and kind of like, brush your own shoulders, being part of something and contributing, even if it's just a little small grain of sand, into something much bigger than yourself or the sport, which is helping kids financially go, be able to get a scholarship and go to college.
Yes.
That's awesome, man. That's something to be proud of for sure.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
definitely doing what you've done in the social media content side helps that way, because if nobody hears about it, nobody follows it, then it's not going to grow as fast or as productive. So you having a social media following and creating content is really one of those building blocks that helps this sport grow, and again, helps other people, not just yourself, but the community grow and get to a point where there's scholarships involved in college. So it's a
Absolutely.
way to kind of like pay it forward or pay it back. Now, tell us a little bit, Kalon, about your social media, because I was really impressed with your content. I know, and I'm not a huge content creator, so I'm still kind of trying to navigate the whole social media thing. I like to concentrate more on what I feel comfortable, which is the podcast.
Hmm.
So I always try to learn from other people, and where is, where do I draw the line of, okay, this is too much post, or this is kind of watered down. But your content creation, as far as Instagram and your YouTube videos, are really top notch, and it's more about quality than quantity.
Hmm.
How is your approach to KDJ fishing? What should people look forward to when they follow you on your social media accounts?
Basically, my thing is you just be yourself.
Mm,
Be yourself. Don't try to do too much. And that's what I do. I'm what you see is what you get. I mean, I am who I am. Um, my passion for fishing, it's going to automatically show through the photos, through the videos and things like that. That's just the passion that I have for it. So when I create those videos or post those photos, my whole objective is not, it's not the look at me attitude, like, oh, look,
mhm,
look at this, look at that. My whole outlook of it is to allow people to see my world through my eyes. They people there's people that don't know much about fishing at all. I get
mhm.
messages all the time on Instagram on, just simple things about fishing. So that lets you know that there are a lot of people that's watching you that don't have a clue on how to get started. And that's basically my reason for putting out certain videos and things like that, is because I want to get certain people, well, I just want to get people in general hooked on fishing the way that I am, because I know the positivity that it can bring into a person's life. And it can really be someone's medicine for whatever it is that they're going through. So whenever people look at my content, what they have to look forward to is a guy that's being true to himself, a guy that's just trying to share and spread the 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 good, joyful experiences that fishing has to offer us. And what you see on those videos and those photos, you can do it too. It's not just, it doesn't take a special person to do that. You can do it. So.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I appreciated, and kind of like the vibes that I got when we met at the Hobie POS event. You're not one of those guys that's like, oh, look at me, I'm this, this rock star. You really low key kind of business um, aspect of it, in the sense that you're professional about it, and you're not there to kind of gloat. Just you,
Yeah.
it shows that you really love what you do and you want to
Hmm.
share it. And like you said,
Right.
people to look at through your eyes, and that's something that I kind of appreciate. And when we were talking about it, it's like, Caitlin is somebody that I really love to bring to the podcast, just because I think that's the right attitude that we want to, inspire other generations, so other people to go, to pick up this sport. It's not just an old man sports like it used to be. So also a young man sports, like we mentioned,
Hmm.
high school and college scholarships going, as well as other people that are maybe can't afford to buy a boat but still love fishing, and other people that are, like myself, that are, uh, reaching that 50, 60 years old mark, and kind of want something a little bit more laid back,
Yeah.
that they can enjoy. And so it really is, when we talked about new generation of kayak fishing, we're not talking about young people as well. It's just this movement that, it could be people from all types of ages, backgrounds. It's not gender specific, it's not age specific, it's not financially demographic specific. It's for everybody to enjoy.
Right.
And the way that you approach it, it seems like it's one of those, or that it's grown organically.
Hmm.
What has been your biggest inspiration? Um, not Let me ask you this question. It's going to be a two-part question. When it comes to fishing and growing as a fisherman, leaving the content creation out of it, what has been your biggest inspiration for you that you've learned from watching and understanding fishing, whether it's a family member or an influencer or a TV personality?
Um, Honestly, my biggest in life, okay, so in life, I mean, maybe you can relate to me on this, but in life, I find that when you get a certain age or a certain maturity level, you start to
Mhm.
try to figure out something that's going to challenge you, something that's going to challenge you to be the best you that you can be. And I believe that for me, fishing is such a deep, excuse me, a deep passion for me. I figured that that is a way that it can challenge me to be the best man that I can be for myself. I don't want to be better than this angler, that angler, the next angler. My goal every day is to be a better angler than I was yesterday. You know, every regardless if you're competing in a tournament or just fishing just to improve your skills, every day your biggest competitor is yourself.
Yeah.
And in fishing, I find that that is one of the biggest and easiest ways that you can test your perseverance, your patience, just all the little aspects of life that can mold you into the man that you are looking to be. Because fishing teaches you so many things.
Yeah.
Like it's not about just catching a fish. You know what I'm is when you go out fishing, your mind starts to wonder. And when your mind starts to
Yes.
wonder, you can find yourself finding yourself, like figuring out who am I? What do I like? What do I not like? You have no choice but to think about those things because you are out on the water and there's nothing else around you. You know what I mean? Especially whenever you go out by yourself.
Hmm.
You are your company. So you have the only company you have are your thoughts.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the worst company, sometimes that's the best company. But whenever
It's
you're
true.
out fishing by yourself, you can't run from that. So that is the best time for an individual to realize who am I? What do I like? What do I want out of life? And that's why I believe fishing can be one of the greatest teachers of life.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. You kind of hit it the nail on the head on that as far as the way I approach it and the way I view it. I know we were talking about you're competing against yourself for the tournament. That's goes back to the conversation was having with Charlie Wells and that bass fishing dude on the live segment about 3 weeks ago, where somebody asked like, well, how do you still enjoy tournament fishing when it's so stressful and you know you don't always win. Most of the time, you don't win because only can be one winner. But when you look at it from the standings point, right? But it's like you mentioned, it's not you competing against anybody else. It's just you competing against your personal best, against the best version of yourself. How do you improve that?
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the most underrated part about fishing and kayak fishing, I always relate to kayak fishing because kayak fishing, more than boat fishing or bank fishing, you have to fight the elements, right? You don't have, most of us don't have a motor. And even if you do have a motor, it's not like, I don't know, 120, even 50 horsepower motor on the back of your boat where you can just,
Right.
run away from weather if you need to. You're there. You
Mm-hmm.
have to find the current. You have to fight the wind. You have to find different elements, and yet at the same time kind of figure out what the bite is and how are you going to catch the fish. And that's something that, I mean, I don't know if there's any substitute. I mean, different people gravitate to different things. Like I used to do mountain biking and I love mountain biking. And to me, the way that I would apply it is, well, I can't get up this hill without having to stop and kind of walk or get off the bike. So my quest was like, how do I improve myself where over there I don't have to stop at this hill when I'm going uphill or downhill, whatever it was. Now that I'm kayak fishing, it's like, how do I figure out the puzzle? How do I put it together? And what I realized, and I think it's one of the most underrated parts about fishing and kayak fishing, is like it helps you in life. Like I don't understand people that ask me like, "What are you doing this for? If you're throwing back the fishes, if you're not keeping the fish, it's catch and release. What's the point of going out 4, 5, sometimes 8 hours fishing? That's the point of it. It's not. It's not just catching a fish. It's figuring out what the problem is and improving on it. And that gives you, I mean, I can even tell you, some you have to experience for yourself, for those that
Hmm.
haven't yet, is it helps you in life. Whenever you're struggling with something, you you it trains you to have patience, right? And I'll give you an example. And I know this show is about you, and we want to talk about your tournament, but you hit on a good point that I can't see myself stop talking from it. But when I went fishing this week, and I mentioned it on my stories, I went to a lake where I stunk so bad every time I go. But it's like I don't want to go to a lake where I know how to catch him. I want to go to a lake where I don't know how to catch him, that doesn't have as much bass, and it's hard to catch him, because that's gonna help my perseverance. And I'm gonna try a technique that should be working for the conditions, but maybe it's not the one that I want. And I'm a power fisherman. I love chatterbaits, crankbaits, buzz baits. Um, but I was forced to, I'm going to leave that down and I'm going to throw a Ned rig, which I hate, but I want to force myself because I have to learn to be patient if I want
Hmm.
to, complete the mission kind of sort of mentality. And that helps you in life, because now in life, when you have a problem, you learn to be patient. You learn to think, you learn to figure out what the problem is and how to solve it. And
Yep.
I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest oversight that people kind of like don't understand, and that's like you can have other
It
ways. I
helps
mean,
your
it
problem
doesn't have to
solving
be kayak fishing.
skills.
Yes,
Yeah, it helps your problem solving skills.
it
So
does, and it teaches you patience and perseverance.
absolutely.
And like you said, you just out there on the water and just kind of think of all the things that you need to think on, and kind of like get we all have negative thoughts in
Oh
our
yeah,
lives. We all go through stuff. Do one of those that are kind of like start you removing them from your thoughts, and kind of like have your own time to just forget about
oh
them
yeah.
and find a way to not have them resurface.
Because it's human nature. A lot of we all at some point of our lives we all went through a stage to where we used to run away from ourselves. We didn't want to deal
Yep.
with anything that we had to deal with.
Yes.
We didn't want to deal with, mental, emotional, whatever it is. We didn't want to deal with it. So we used to do whatever we could to avoid it and run from it. But whenever you get into fishing, when you're out there on the water by yourself, you can't run from it, buddy.
Yep.
The
You
thoughts
can't.
are going to be there. That you can't run from it. So you can't pick up the
No,
remote control and turn the TV on and start watching a movie and try to forget about it. Can't do it.
that's very true. And one of the things is you sometimes don't even notice how it helps you.
Yeah.
Like if I would have been home before I started kayak fishing, I would have been home, if or was at work or dealing with stress, negative thoughts popped in my mind, right? And it it's it's grows roots in your heart, and
Hmm.
it's hard to get them out. When I started kayak fishing, those kind of like things, those kind of like inner demons, whatever, they kind of start going away, because now you're fishing distracted, doing something productive. And again, some people may have other stuff that helps them,
Right.
but it doesn't have to be kayak fishing. Whatever your kayak fishing is, whether it's mountain biking, whether it's playing chess, whether it's whatever it is, find it. For us, it's kayak fishing, so that's what we're going to talk about. But it really helps you, because now those negative thoughts are less common, and now everything else kind of in your life simplifies. Now
Hmm.
things that used to weigh you down and complicate other decisions in your life, because those things that are not weighing you down are not there anymore, those other decisions in your life come a lot easier, and therefore everything else comes a lot easier. And I think
Correct.
it's something that you can't. I know I'm going down a deep
Oh no,
rabbit hole on
no,
this,
no.
but
You're telling the truth.
it is. But going back to more of a fun topic here, what has been? We noticed you said the your influence as a kayak fisherman. Now, what has been your biggest influence as a content creator? Doing, whether it's YouTube or whether it's Instagram or Facebook. What has influenced you to give the approach that you have on
Just basically, number one, just it's something I enjoy doing. Just doing what I love. It brings me joy, it brings me happiness. But also, um, I always want to make sure that I'm inspiring somebody some way, you know, and through content creation, whenever you're creating these videos and photos and things like that, if you approach it in a positive manner, inspiring someone, you may not know, but someone along the way who's watching your content are being inspired by you. It took me a little while just to figure that out. Year after year after year, I get just random messages from people I don't know, um, about how much I inspired them from all walks of life, different races, whatever the case may be. Just I inspired them some way, somehow. Something I may have said, something that I may have done, the way I handled a certain situation, whatever it can be. Um, I inspired them. So that's the two things that I would have to say that motivates me to create quality content. Is number one, it brings me joy and happiness. I enjoy doing it, but also just knowing that I can inspire someone along the way and motivate them to be better or do better. Um, that's good enough for me.
That's something that I think is very important and very responsible. And like you mentioned, you look to inspire everybody from every race. Now, I noticed you work with Brian Latimer, who I think has been instrumental in helping people in the black community, kind of like um, grow in this sport. Because
Mm-hmm.
it used to be really, when you look at it historically, it used to be just kind of like a southern white man sport. Now it's moved on with the small bass fishing into more northern areas. So the sport is growing, and with it, culturally is growing, and we see people from the black community now having an influence in this. And I think a lot of companies like catch co companies kind of recognize that and want to help out, whether it's for their own growth and also help people in minorities communities, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like um help in this sport. Do you see yourself in that role, uh, you know personally, as helping people in your community grow, whether it's Louisiana or other parts of the state, grow in the fishing and kayak fishing?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's very important. Because I mean, it's tough, and just not in Louisiana, but just all over the world. You have these some kids that are stuck in certain environments, and they can't get out because they're kids. They can't get out.
Yeah.
So I just think that it's important for them to know that there's so many different things that you can do in life. It's not just about basketball or football. If you want to talk about sports or whatnot, um, there's a lot of kids that like fishing, but they don't have nobody to take them fishing there. They don't have nobody to show them the proper way to fish and do certain things. Um, and it's crazy because it has been brought to my attention many a times. Like, people tell me, man, I don't I don't see too many African Americans that fish the way that you fish. And it's I mean, if you think about it, it's really not the if you look at the total pool number of
Mhm.
African Americans that may fish on a professional level or whatnot, it's really not that large of a number compared
Mm.
to other races. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
um, and that's nobody's fault per se, but it's just, I guess, some people look at it, and especially those kids, when they see it, it's like, oh, maybe I can do that, or I
Mhm.
want to do that. And I mean, I've been to a birthday party to where I was told that I had to bring an autographed photo of me fishing, and that's what her son wanted for his
That's
birthday,
awesome.
was an autographed photo of me fishing. And because he loves all my content, he goes to school, he talks about my content, he shows my content. I've had teachers want me to come speak to their class because there's kids in her class that I guess they had the little what is called when the kids have to tell the teachers what they
Show
want to
and
be
tell.
when they grow up. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of kids that wanted to be a professional fisherman
That's awesome.
because they follow me on Instagram. You know what I mean? So it's things like that that it humbles me, and it just makes me realize that people are watching. You know what I mean? Black, white, whatever it is, people are watching. And you have to be careful with how you move, be careful with how you talk, because you watching. You just don't.
That's a very good point, and I think that's kind of like one of the underrated parts of it. Like people, a lot of times, are like, "Well, I want to be," it's cool to think, "Okay, I want to be this influencer in fashion." There's a lot of responsibilities. Kind of shaming my, I mean, I should be ashamed of saying this, but kind of like that Spider-Man movie, the like great power comes with responsibility. Now,
Oh yeah, yeah.
kind of like applying it to fishing. Having this uh ability to kind of influence kids, like you mentioned, by your social media, kind of brings responsibility because they're gonna follow what you do. If and that's I've gone to rants about that in past podcasts, but it's really very important, especially when you see people that like yourself that have that influence on younger people. That age demographic is so important to be able to show them you can grow it organically and not just or not trying to use clickbaits or to make yourself famous, but actually gain the respect of the community, the kayak fishing community or the fishing community in general, at the same time growing your social media. I think it's very important. So it's a big responsibility, and kudos to you. I followed your Instagram account and some of your videos, and I see that in you, that sense of responsibility and just kind of humbleness about it, that I think it's a great role models for kids. And speaking about role models, you did have a chance to fish with Brian Latimer in Louisiana, your home state. How was that experience? Had you met him in person before, and how did that came about? Where you have this opportunity, how you felt about having that opportunity?
Well, me and Brian, we've been friends for a good while. We've talked before and things like that, but we never had a chance to actually fish together. So it was definitely a great experience. I was honored and humbled for him to actually want to take the time out to come down and film a show with me. It was fun. It was past due. We had been talking about fishing together, and we're still talking about fishing together off camera, just going out and just having a good time doing some fishing. But it was definitely a great experience for us to get together, get on the water, film an episode for his show, and just have a good time. It was a great experience.
Yeah, and the video, by the way, where can people follow video? I know it's on Waypoints, but if you want to give
Yes.
them like where can people follow them? Where can people follow you on both on all your social media channels?
Well, on Instagram, they can follow me on Instagram, KDJ Fishing. That's my Instagram. So just KDJ Fishing is where they can follow me on there. I do have Facebook, but I don't really interact with Facebook like that. All my fishing content is on Instagram and also my YouTube channel, which is KDJ Fishing. So Instagram and YouTube, KDJ Fishing.
And for those that haven't followed your videos, YouTube and Instagram, what do you like to focus on? Do you like to focus on teaching? I know there's content creators like Fluke Master, which pretty much all his video is about teaching people how to
Yeah,
fish. And then there's that bass fishing to Brandon Mays, who does more of entertainment. My day out on the water and my
right.
adventures and misadventures, kind of like of kayak fishing. What is the heart and soul of your YouTube channel and your content creation?
It's a mixture of both. It's a mixture of just going out in the water and having fun, catching some fish, along with a mixture of teaching. As far as what type of lures I'm using, how to approach certain fish, and things like that. So, um, my YouTube channel is a work in progress right now. There's some things I'm working on with a sponsor of mine to try to get some real good content going on with that. So, but there are videos that's on there right now. I haven't posted in a couple of months, but that's going to change this spring and summer.
Awesome. So well, let me ask you this: we talked about your influence in in younger generations, like you mentioned it, ask you for career days or show and tells, and send you messages, trying to learn. What is your advice to a young lady, a young man that's trying to grow their social media as far as their content creation, not just how to learn how to fish, but how do they grow organically? And what would what would be your advice to anybody that's trying to grow their social media?
My advice to them would be number one, always be true to yourself. Don't try to, be fake and put on this fake image of what you believe in and all that good stuff. Just be yourself, be unique, but be yourself. Um, Also, keep it clean. Keep it clean, keep it professional because
Mhm.
if you want to be a content creator, and I'm still on the verge of building my content as a content creator, I'm not nowhere close to where I want to be, but
Mhm.
um, we want to keep it neat, keep it clean and professional because you're going to need sponsorship help from these larger companies to boost your content creation and get funds to get cameras or take these trips to certain lakes that's not 10 minutes down. You can use those sponsorship funds to help with gas and whatever the case may need, whatever kind of equipment that you need to get the best content creation that you want. Getting sponsorship help is going to be a big deal, a deal breaker for you as far as um, the ceiling level that you want to reach. So yeah, be you, be yourself, be unique, keep it clean, keep it professional, and target those quality sponsorships to help you grow and get you where you need to be.
That's great advice. Now you mentioned that it's nowhere near what you wanted it to be. What is your short-term or long-term goals as far as your brand is concerned?
As far as my KDJ fishing brand, I have some things in the works as far as apparel. I have things in the works as far as doing things with organizations in my community, to reach out to kids in the community and just people in general. So um, just just expanding myself and extending my helping hand out in many different ways, not just fishing. So those are the main important things that that I would have as far as long term and short term. It's not just about fishing. It's more about helping people with depression, anxiety, mental any things like that. Because like we talked about earlier, fishing can help all those things. So if I can find a way to target and get a handful of those people together, regardless if it's 3, 5, or 10, that's 10 more people that I've helped. You know what I mean? So um that's my goal. And I've been in talks with a couple of people, couple of companies and things like that to get those things in the works. Um and also um I've talked to one of my sponsors about possibly getting something started to where it's like I don't know what to really call it, but yeah, I don't want to say too much about it because I don't know
Yeah,
what
no
to really
worries, man.
call
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
it's something that's going to help people that deal with anxiety, depression. I've been there, I've experienced it, so I know how it feels. I know how to deal with it. I know how much fishing has impacted my life to help me with
Mhm.
those type of things. So I'm in the works of getting something started to where fishing and my brand will be in conjunction with helping people deal with depression, anxiety, and etc.
And that's one of the reasons that I was so looking forward to have you on the podcast, Kalon, because I have so much respect for what you do. And that's something that I think everybody needs to understand. When you want to start a brand, you don't have to hide behind making people think that you're this rock star. And people gravitate towards, vulnerability
Right.
and struggles.
Hmm.
Um, if you're always, posting pictures about your accomplishments, like my personal best. I caught 20 bass, which you all do. That's fine.
Right.
Bragging rights, flexing is
Yeah,
not
yeah. It's
bad.
nothing wrong with a
It's
little
not
bit of
bad.
that every now and then.
Yeah. But if that's all we're posting, then there's really not a lot of people that can relate to, right? But when you post your struggles on the water, and maybe sometimes struggles off the water that people can relate, I think that's important. It may not be, the main subject, but it is shows, showing the viewers, your followers, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay when you fail. We all do.
Absolutely.
For every 5-15 second um video or reel that we post on Instagram of hooking a big bass, there's thousands of thousands of failure casts that we did, of throwing your bait on a tree, or getting a snack on the bottom, or
Hmm.
having a backlash, or all those failures that we have, and that, I think that's important to come through as well, right? um because it shows, we're all humans, right? We're not trying to make ourselves make people believe something that we're not, or that we're
Right.
invincible, or that we're beyond mistakes, or beyond struggles. And the other thing that I really appreciate about what you said, and I think I have to stress that because I think it's so important. You grow The best way to grow your brand is not by looking at what I can accomplish for myself, but what can I do to help out other people. And I think that's very important, for especially for young um, women, or guys that are, getting into the now social media game, which seems to be like the future, of everything. Now everything's kind of
Yeah.
like surrounded around social media. We're living a social media generation right now. There is a way where you can do it where it's not just about you, it's about how you can help other people, how you can reach out. And that's the best way that comes out through. That is sustainable.
Oh yeah.
I go in, I reference a lot Fluke Master Gene Jensen when he was on the podcast, that 90% of his content is how to teach people how to fish. That is sustainable because he's, like he said, his video the first year is going to get pretty much the same amount of views as he's going to get the second and third year, because there's somebody like myself that's going to go back to, oh wait a minute, winter is coming. How do I, what are the tactics for winter fishing? So let me go
Uh-huh.
back and rewatch those videos. It's going to be a new generation of
Yes.
anglers that are coming to age and that are thinking, I want to learn how to, fish. So that's sustainable. And the influence that you have on whether it's younger generation, older generation, people with um, that have struggles that they can relate to you, that's sustainable. And
Hmm.
that creates something that everybody's going to everybody that you affected positive with positivity in their life,
Hmm.
it's going to remember that for the rest of their life. You might remember the last time you watched a YouTube video, but you're not going to forget how Kalon Johnson's motivation helped me.
Oh yeah. And I mean, a short story with that. Couple, maybe like five. Well, I'll say about 5, 6 years ago, there was a guy that messaged me on social media. He was like, "Hey man, been following you for a long time. I really would love for you to take me out fishing so I can learn from you. You know, yada yada." I'm like, "Okay, sounds good." Um, well, he hit me with he is going through treatments, chemo, so he has cancer, and he was like, as soon as I get my strength back, I want you to take me out, in a kayak. He wants to go in a kayak, so I'm like, okay, looking forward to it. Once again, as human nature for us to think that we have time. We always think that we have time, and that's one of the biggest mistakes that we make. But anyway, um, time goes on, and I seen that he was getting sick. He was getting real sick, and the chemo was hitting him hard. The cancer was coming back strong, and I sent him a text message and say, "Hey, man, I can't wait till you get your strength back. You got to get well because we will catch you." Like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna, I'm we going fishing, blah blah blah." Well, a couple of weeks go by. I'm sorry, a couple of months go by. And I'm like, man, I have to hit this guy up because we have to go fishing. Well, I go to hit him up, and I went and look on his social media because he didn't respond, and found out that he had passed.
Oh man.
And it's like I regret for a while because it's like he reached out to me because he wanted me to take him fishing because he wanted to learn my way. He seen something in me that allowed him, and that told him that the short time that he had left on earth, he wanted to spend one of those days with me. You know what I mean? And it's like we didn't get to do it because we thought. So that goes to that goes along with what you were saying about how, you know, you don't know who you're inspiring, regardless of their sickness, their health, how much money they have, their color. It doesn't matter. Their age. You have no idea who you're inspiring, and it can be a deal breaker, it can be life changing. It can be anything, but you just have no idea who you're inspiring, and that right there. Um, that hit me hard because I was like, wow, like he wanted to spend time with me, knowing that he didn't have much time left. He wanted to spend time with me on the days that he had. You know what I mean? And we had I didn't know who the guy was. He didn't know who I was. He just knew me off of social media, and he knew that we lived close around each other. So, but never got the chance to meet him in person. Never got the chance to teach him what I knew about fishing, although he wanted to know. So, yeah,
Yeah, that's a very powerful sentiment and
yeah,
thought right there. That yeah, yeah. I can't. It's not much I can say to follow that up, man. That's
yeah.
very powerful. Um, but yeah, it's we like you mentioned, we don't have we think we have a lot of time, so we never know.
No,
It could be
never
gone
know.
tomorrow, so you got
Yep,
to take those opportunity. Let me ask you a
absolutely.
little bit about you, Kalon. So we kind of talked about your social media. What are your goals as far as tournament fishing? I met you in the tournament for the Hobie BOS. You were also doing the Bass Nation Kayak Series for Louisiana. What are your aspirations and what have been your accomplishments as far as tournament fishing?
Uh, well, my goals this year is to win a darn tournament. That's for sure. Because I haven't been doing too hot this year, um, and it's crazy because, like I said, I've been doing redfish tournaments for so long. You know, from
Mhm.
Louisiana to Texas and things like that. And I recently started bass fishing competitively in 2020. So that's whenever I really started taking the bass fishing. I've freshwater fished my whole life as a kid, but competitively
Yeah.
bass fishing out of a kayak, I just started doing that in 2020. Um, my biggest one of my goals, one of my accomplishments in 2020, we have a club called BAM. It's called BAM Fishing, and it's a Louisiana club based out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And we fish the northern part of central and northern part of Louisiana mostly. And in 2020, I made the Elite 10 championship. So the 10 best anglers out of the club made it to the Elite 10. I placed third, and I had the Big Bass Award. So that was pretty special for me, just knowing that I was fairly new to bass fishing competitively. For me to play in the Elite 10 championship, that was pretty cool, you know. But yeah, I mean, as far as my goals, as far as tournament fishing, is just to get better each and every day, each and every event, improve what it is that I felt like I need to improve on. That's what I'm going to do. I can't promise or say I'm gonna win an event this year, but that's my goal. You know, that's my goal. So
I noticed on you, and I have to ask you because I love scuba diving. I noticed on the wall on the back, you have like some plaques for like scuba diving. Do you do scuba diving?
no, no, that those plaques right there. There's an event every year for a guy that passed away. He was doing spearfishing, I believe, and he passed away. So that's a memorial tournament that they do every
Oh,
year.
okay.
Yeah. So I know I used to fish it all the time. I haven't fished it. I don't know the last one I won, but it's been a couple of years since I fished it, and but I normally used to always fish it.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I was looking at it. It's like, wait a minute, it's scuba diving.
Nah, man.
I
I
haven't
love
done.
fishing. I like the water, but I ain't about to go spirit. Nah.
I was. It's funny because I used to help out a guy when I lived in Puerto Rico. I used to have a friend that did guide service in the Flora Luz. I don't know how you call it in English. Luminescent Bay. There's a couple of bays in Puerto Rico that have this plankton that at night when you move the water lights up, and it's just planks. And we used to take tourists out there, and I used to help them out. And I would get on the water. Now, mind you, I was in my mid 20s. I would get on the water at night and swim, and your whole body just lights up. It's pretty amazing, right? So I've always done scuba diving. This funny thing about it is what you just mentioned is like I would have tourists kind of freak out, like, "Are you crazy getting in the water? You can't see what's down there." And now that I'm in almost my 50s, I look back at it like I don't know if I can do that now. Where just get on the pitch black water,
Yeah,
just get on
that's
the
the thing.
water.
Like the ocean is a very intimidating place.
Yeah,
So especially at nighttime. Um,
yeah.
I'm not trying to go. No, I'm good.
It's fun though.
There's a large percentage of the ocean that we haven't discovered yet, and I'm not trying to be
Yeah.
one of them to discover it.
Well, if you ever go to Puerto Rico, and I'm sure they have it in other places where there's bioluminescent bay, go check it out. They take you on a kayak tour.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun to just jump in the water. But now that I think about it, it's like, yeah, I don't know if like maybe that little I don't know chemical on your brain that tells you you shouldn't be doing that. That as you get older, it kind of like amplifies. Like, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that. But
Uh
back
huh.
then, I loved it, man. Getting on the water at night, it was pretty awesome. But yeah, I used to be so scared of the water until I started scuba diving, um, and then I kind of like broke free of that um, fear because once I started scuba diving, then I realized there was nothing to be afraid of. When you can't see what's underneath you, you're afraid of it. But once I started scuba diving, I look what's underneath. I'm like, yeah, there's nothing for me to be scared of. So that kind of helped me a lot
Yeah.
when it comes to the approach that I get getting into the water and all that, especially growing up in a Caribbean island. But good stuff, man. Now, Kalon, I've had you for almost an hour. I know you're a busy guy. You had a busy day at your work today, and I don't want to keep you too long, but I do want to get my audience to get to know Kalon Johnson a little bit more. So let me ask you for a series of kind of rapid questions, kayak fishing related, most of it, some
Yeah.
of it more personal, but you ready?
Let's go.
Okay, first one, I'm pretty sure I know what you're gonna say. I always ask my guests if you can't be bass fishing, if you're not allowed to bass fish anymore for whatever reason, what fish would you target? I'm assuming it's gonna be redfish, but I'll let you answer it.
Bam.
Redfish. That's
Redfish.
what I figured. What if you had to decide? You had to give up one for the rest of your life. Which one would you give up? Redfish or bass fish?
For the rest of my life,
Yeah, you
I
had to give
would
up
give
one.
up redfish because you have more opportunities and more, lakes and stuff throughout the world. You can go all throughout the whole world and bass fish almost. Can't do
Yeah,
that with
pretty much.
redfish.
You ever thought about going to? I know I've heard Japan has great bass fishing. I've heard, and I've never done it, but I heard Africa has amazing bass fisheries. I
I
don't
heard
know
that
what
too.
part of Africa. I think it's South Africa.
That's
I
what I
know
heard.
Brazil has peacock bass, which is not actually bass, but for whatever reason we call it bass. Have you ever had that thought of just going, internationally and fish for bass, whether it's peacock
Oh
or
yeah,
other?
it's definitely on my bucket list to do.
Nice. What would be your first one on your bucket list to go?
I would say it would be Brazil and then
Peacock bass.
Africa. Yeah,
Nice. I forgot. Yeah, I would love to go to Africa. I've heard that has huge bass. Not sure if
yeah.
I'm not sure how that works. I've been meaning to get somebody from Africa who kayak fish to come to the podcast and kind of me being an ignorant American that doesn't know much about other countries, because I'm visualizing Nile crocodiles, like you see National Geographic taking zebras down, hippos, but I'm pretty sure that's not how it goes. But my mind just like, oh man, it's people fishing with, with hippos and crocodiles and
Yeah,
water buffaloes, or is it just like your regular
the
going to
hippos,
Lake
those things
Fork?
are very mean.
Yeah, I can see that. But okay, so continuing on, if you have one lure for bass fishing, you can only fish one lure. What would that lure be?
If I can only fish one lure, it would be uh, hmm, I would go with a spinnerbait.
Spinnerbait, trailer,
Yeah.
no trailer.
Uh, that would all depends, but just to keep it simple, I will go with no trailer.
Any particular brand of spinnerbait that you like? You prefer?
No, I don't have no particular brand. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
it's
lot of different brands that I like. I like Humdinger, which is that's a local brand that we have down here, and I think it's called Terminator, the Terminator
mm,
spinnerbait. Though I really like that one. So
awesome. Favorite rod, reel, and line setup.
I like to go with the medium heavy action. If I'm flipping or throwing like a um, spinnerbait or crankbait or whatever, I'll go with fluorocarbon line. But if I'm flipping around like grass, heavy grass, I'll go with straight braid. So I'll be flipping with straight braid with heavy grass, or I'll throw top water frog or buzz bait or something like that. So
And the
yeah,
reel?
the real I would go with as we talking about like speed wise.
The what reel would you use if you only have one setup to you pick? Yeah, like what's your favorite
I will
setup?
go with the Hamar S Plus from Six Gill Fishing. It's built for saltwater. I mean, you can use it in freshwater, but it's built very very strong. And I will go with a 7-to-1 gear ratio.
Nice. What has been your personal best? Let me ask. This is going to be two-part question: personal best in bass and personal best in red. You
Uh,
can go with weight or length, whatever you know.
Personal best with redfish. I don't know offhand. I know around it's in the 40-inch club for sure.
Nice,
Out of a
nice,
kayak. Um, and out of a bass, my biggest bass was 6 pounds.
nice.
Yeah,
Not bad
that's
at
my
all. And
biggest bass.
length? You remembering length by any chance?
Length? No, I don't remember length. It was somewhere in the 20s, of course, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I would imagine 6 pounds. Be less than 20 to be a football, basketball,
Yeah, yeah.
more than anything. Um, what? I forgot what was the next question. I got caught up in that. Um, what's your favorite snack to take out on the water with you when you kayak fishing?
Beef jerky.
Beef jerky? Any
Yep.
particular brand?
No particular brand. I just love my beef jerky. Beef jerky.
I think you got caught up. You got caught
Oh, I
up there. You
said
said beef
beef
jerky,
jerky and almonds. I love almonds.
almonds.
Yeah,
Man, you would get thirsty, wouldn't you? With salted
I know.
almonds or just straight up?
No, lightly
I'll be
salted.
peeing like 5 times an hour if I take those snacks. What has been your if okay, let me ask you this. If you had one person, whether a person that's alive or a person that's no longer with us, I can already think of what you would answer, but oh, if you have one chance one day to fish with one person, who that person be?
If I had one chance to fish with one person, um, I would have to say my late uncle who passed away 2 years ago. That he
Oh,
was
sorry to hear that.
one of my uncles that taught me how to fish at a young age. So that was my fishing buddy, and he passed away 2 years ago in September.
Nice. Well, did you get to fish with him a lot?
Oh yeah, definitely.
More like
Yep.
saltwater fishing or freshwater fishing?
No, he was responsible for my freshwater teaching. So
Oh,
my
nice.
sac-a-lait, crappie, bluegill and bass and stuff like that. Yep.
Awesome. Well, Kalon, thanks again for joining us, man. I've kept you for an hour here, and again, I appreciate you taking the time. I wanted to give you a couple of minutes, or as long as you need, to first of all plug in. Where can people follow you? I know we already mentioned it, but if you want to remind everybody, we can follow you on any social media or a channel that you have. Also, if you want to thank any family members, companies that sponsor you, or organizations that help you out, just anybody you want to do a shameless plug, go ahead.
Well, you can follow me on Instagram and YouTube. Like I said earlier, my name's Kalon Johnson. My brand is KDJ Fishing. So on YouTube and Instagram, if you type in KDJ Fishing, you'll see me pop up. I love to thank my family and my friends for just their support and believing in me. And also want to thank all my sponsors. I'll probably be missing a couple if I sit here and try to name them all, but Bass Pro Shops, Tacoma Lithium, Six Gill Fishing, Exotic High Performance Rods, Teresa King, Lost Lawyer Service, 985 Product Seasoning, John Kerry Incorporation, Livingston, who else? Um, and I think that maybe, and Catch. I can't forget my Catch. They've been a great support as well. So, like I said, I might be leaving a couple of people out, but I want to thank all of them, all my sponsors for because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to travel and fish these tournaments. Because as you already know, gas is high.
Yeah.
So if you want to get into tournament fishing, you need to have sponsors that's going to support you with finances. You have to because that's the only way. Unless hey, if you're rich or if you got money to play with, that's fine. But
Yeah.
I like my money. So I appreciate the finance support that I get from some of my sponsors to allow me to get out and travel from state to state. So
Yeah, man. And notice you have both endemic and non-endemic, meaning companies that are actually not directly involved with fishing that still sponsors you. And again, I want to reiterate that to my audience. You know, Kalen's approach to fishing is help other people. You know, be be that bridge that helps other people get into kayak fishing, and don't worry too much about you know you know don't worry too much about your legacy as far as trying to be this superstar, but just put your most of your energy, create that balance, and trying to help out other people, communities. That's the way, the right way, the organic way, and the one that's going to give you sponsorship,
yep.
in lasting sponsorship. So shout out to you again, Kalon, for what you do, your approach to fishing. I think it's important. I think you're doing um, making strides in the kayak fishing community, in fishing in general, helping out people from all ages, people that reach out to you, and like myself, that wanted to, uh, kind of share your experience in your life with other people. That's something that I think it cannot be understated, and we appreciate you. We're blessed to have you in the kayak fishing community, Kalon. We wish you the best moving forward, both in your tournament career, in your content creation, in your growth of your channel. The hunt, and the approach of trying to get more sponsorship to help you with the offset the cost of the great content that you bring. Before I let you go, though, anything that people can look forward to that's coming down the pipelines for KDJ Fishing?
Um, I have a bunch of things in the works. Honestly, nothing specific, but just be on the lookout for more inspiring and motivating content, and things of that nature. So it'd be some good stuff.
Thank you again, Kalon. Again, one of the perks of having this podcast is getting to know people like Kalon, great people that really do put the kayak fishing community as part of their life, and help them grow. So again, for everybody that's listening, hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope it means a lot to you, like it meant a lot to me to have Kalon on. Remember, if you're going to be out on the water and you're going to be having a couple of beers, just drink responsibly. Let your families know where you're going to be. If you're going to be by yourself, where your PFDs, go check out my sponsor. Go to douglasoutdoors.com to check out their full lineup of LRS, X Matrix, and fly fishing rods. Have a great week, everyone. Stay safe, and that's it. Peace and love.